There's a reason the mountain doesn't move for most people. It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they're cursed or broken or unlucky. It's because they stop climbing. Success does not respond to your dreams. It does not bow to your intentions. It doesn't care how inspired you were for 10 minutes, or how many books you read, or how many times you whispered affirmations into the mirror. Success bows to one thing and one thing only: perseverance. Not the kind you post about, the kind you bleed for, the kind you show in the dark, when it hurts, when it's thankless, when it's quiet. The kind that keeps going not because it's easy, but because it's yours. You see, the world doesn't hand out gold to those who want it. It hands it to those who won't stop digging until their fingers are raw and the earth finally breaks. That's the law. And too many people quit 5 minutes before the breakthrough. One chapter before the revelation. One call, one meeting, one morning away from the moment that would have changed everything. They stop because it's hard. They stop because it's slow. They stop because no one claps. But the ones who rise, they understand something deeper. The universe does not reward the most gifted. It rewards the most stubborn. The ones who refuse to go away. The ones who return again and again with calloused hands and fire in their eyes. The ones who are willing to fail in public, fall in private, and still return to the work with no promise it'll ever pay off. Just the belief that they will. Success loves perseverance, because perseverance proves character. It proves you're not just interested, you're committed. It proves you're not addicted to comfort, you're loyal to your cause. It proves you're not waiting for miracles, you're becoming one. And that's the difference between a dabbler and a dominator. A dabbler waits to feel ready. A dominator moves while it's messy. Because the dominator knows, if I just keep showing up, the mountain will crack. If I just keep striking, the stone will split. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. But there will come a moment where the dam breaks, and every ounce of sweat, every failed attempt, every lonely night will roar back tenfold. But only if you don't stop. Because perseverance is not a feeling. It's not something you wait to arrive. It's something you choose over and over and over again. And it begins with mindset. If your mindset isn't rooted in resilience, you'll fold. Not because you're weak, but because you never trained your mind to stay when it hurts. Your mind will lie to you. It will whisper, "This isn't working." It will shout, "This isn't worth it." But your spirit must be louder. You must teach your mind that the goal isn't to feel good every day. The goal is to become someone you respect. And that doesn't come from ease. It comes from endurance. Mindset is the soil, and perseverance grows from it. A lazy mind cannot birth a strong will. So you train it daily, with discomfort, with commitment, with repetition. You remind yourself that struggle is not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're building something real. And belief is what locks you in place when everything else tells you to run. Belief is the quiet agreement you make with your soul. No matter what, I'm not leaving this mission half finished. That kind of belief becomes a shield. It protects you when the results don't show. It protects you when the world mocks. It protects you when the voice inside starts to stutter. Because it's not about whether or not the plan is working. It's about whether or not you still are. That's what separates the successful from the forgotten. Not that they never wanted to quit, but that they never did. Because perseverance is belief in motion. It's what happens when you take your hope, your pain, your vision, and pour it into action over and over again without expecting applause. And clarity is what keeps you aligned through it all. If you don't know what you're after, you'll chase what's shiny. You'll follow distractions dressed as opportunities. You'll burn your fuel on things that don't matter. But when your vision is clear, your perseverance becomes automatic. Because when you see it, you serve it. And you stop caring how long it takes. You stop negotiating with fatigue. You stop asking, is this worth it? And start living like, of course it is. That's the magic of vision. It doesn't just inspire you. It stabilizes you. You don't build skyscrapers with confused blueprints. You don't climb mountains without knowing which peak is yours. So define it. Get clear. and then attach your entire identity to becoming the person who never leaves that vision on the table. That's where purpose is born. Not from chasing what's trendy, but from choosing what's true. And once you find it, you protect it with everything you have. Because purpose is fragile at first. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And it only grows when fed with focused, disciplined effort. Discipline is the bodyguard of perseverance. Without it, you'll drift. You'll cheat. You'll hope your way through days instead of owning them. Discipline is doing it anyway. Doing it tired. Doing it uninspired. Doing it when the voice inside you says, just this once, take the day off. No, success doesn't love excuses. Success doesn't love almost. Success doesn't love potential. Success loves perseverance. And perseverance lives inside the decisions you make when no one's watching. It lives in the reps you don't skip. The emails you send with shaking hands. The nights you study when others sleep. The 1,000 no's you endure to earn your first yes. Because that's how it works. The ones who win aren't the ones who had the best plan. They're the ones who kept moving when their plan broke. They're the ones who adapted. They didn't fall in love with the process. They fell in love with becoming someone who never gives up. And that is what makes you dangerous. Not talent, not charisma, not luck. Your ability to keep going, to keep climbing, to keep striking the stone until it splits. Because it always does. Eventually, the mountain cracks for the one who never walks away from it. And when it does, when that breakthrough finally arrives, no one will understand what it cost. They'll see the result, the glow, the stage, the reward, but not the grind. Not the 1,000 silent nights, not the times you broke down and still stood up, not the days when all you had was a single thread of faith and you clung to it like your life depended on it. But you'll know. And that knowing that inner record of every ounce of effort you gave when it didn't feel like it mattered, that's the glory. Not the trophy, not the title. The transformation. Because perseverance doesn't just change your results, it changes your identity. You become the person who finishes, the one who sees it through, the one who doesn't vanish when things get hard but sharpens in the storm. And that version of you, that's the one success has been waiting for. Not the impulsive you, not the one who starts and stops, tries and hides, hopes and quits. The disciplined you, the devoted you, the one who keeps their word long after the mood has faded, the one who understands that pain is part of the price. That progress doesn't ask for comfort. That perseverance isn't pretty, it's powerful. And once you embody that power, everything changes. Because now, when life tests you, and it will, you don't shrink. You expand. You take the hit, and then you build muscle where the bruise was. You take the loss, and then you turn it into leverage. You take the delay and turn it into domination. That's how real winners think. They don't expect an easy road. They expect resistance, and they use it to sharpen their edge. Because they know, if you want to move the world, you must first be unmoved by obstacles. You must be the one who refuses to go away. And to do that, you need more than motivation. You need to cultivate something deeper. Conviction. Conviction is what stays when motivation leaves. Conviction doesn't need perfect conditions. Conviction doesn't need praise. Conviction doesn't need company. It just moves. It shows up. It sweats. It fights. Conviction says, I didn't come this far just to come this far. And that sentence alone has saved more dreams than any feel-good quote ever has. Because perseverance isn't romantic. It's relentless. It doesn't skip days. It doesn't take shortcuts. It doesn't wait for the stars to align. It grinds in the dark. It sharpens in silence. And slowly, brick by brick, it builds the kind of life that can't be shaken. So if you want to be rich, free, fulfilled, whatever that vision is for you, remember this. It's not about starting. It's about staying. Anyone can start a dream, but few can stay inside the storm long enough to let that dream mature into reality. Because that's what perseverance is. It's emotional maturity in motion. It's the decision to parent your potential instead of abandoning it every time it cries. It's the choice to raise your standard every time life tries to lower it. It's the refusal to let how you feel dictate what you do. And every time you choose perseverance over passivity, you grow. You rise. You begin to separate from the masses. Because most people are driven by convenience. But those who become legends, they are driven by commitment. They know success loves perseverance because perseverance builds the infrastructure of greatness. Your habits, your focus, your energy, your ability to suffer with purpose. That's the architecture of the life you want. It is not built on bursts of excitement. It is built on days you didn't quit. And if you're in that season now, if you're in the middle of the mess, the stretch, the silence, keep going. Because the silence is not punishment, it's preparation. The stretch is not failure, it's formation. And the pain is proof that you're exactly where you need to be. Because if it didn't hurt, it wouldn't change you. If it didn't test you, it wouldn't train you. And if it didn't cost you something, it wouldn't be worth anything. So stop resenting the weight. Carry it. It's shaping you into someone the world will have no choice but to respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. That's what perseverance does. It turns your character into currency. And eventually that currency buys you a life that doesn't need to beg for attention, chase validation, or explain itself. Because it speaks for itself. Loudly, boldly, without apology. And when they ask you how you did it, you won't need a script. You'll look them in the eyes and say the truth no one wants to hear. I didn't stop. That's it. No fancy formulas, no secret hacks, no magical routines. Just this. I didn't stop. I stayed when it was slow. I pushed when it was heavy. I believed when it was blurry. And that's all perseverance is showing up again with nothing but will. That's when success starts to pay attention. Not when you arrive with all the answers, but when you stay through all the questions. When you remain rooted in purpose while the world shakes. When your consistency becomes your credibility. See, people think success comes when you're at your best. But success comes when you perform at your worst and don't walk away. When you keep your rhythm even when your heart is broken. When you push the weight, even when your confidence is low. When you finish the reps, even when no one is clapping. That's when success starts whispering back, I see you, I'm coming. But it only whispers. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. Because success isn't trying to be caught by everyone, it's trying to be earned by the few. The few who are willing to walk alone, to lose sleep, to face ridicule, to confront failure without letting it define them. And that kind of perseverance, it changes your relationship with pressure. You stop avoiding it. You welcome it. Because you understand that pressure is where diamonds are born, where leaders are shaped, where empires begin, where weakness leaves and wisdom enters. So when the pressure comes, you don't panic, you breathe, you lock in, you work. You don't pray for less weight, you build stronger legs. Because you're not fragile anymore. You're not guessing anymore. You're not dabbling in growth. You're married to it. And marriage means loyalty, especially when it's hard, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when you don't feel like it. That's perseverance. It's loyalty to your future self. Loyalty to the version of you that is depending on today's choices to break through tomorrow's chains. And that loyalty is rare. But when it's real, it produces miracles. Not the loud kind, the kind that sneak up on you. One day, you wake up and realize you're different. You didn't get lucky. You got consistent. You didn't get chosen. You chose yourself. You didn't wait for a break. You became the break. Because perseverance is a daily negotiation between the person you used to be and the person you promised yourself you'd become. And every time you show up, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it doesn't feel good, you win. Maybe not the trophy yet, but something better. A reputation with yourself. The quiet knowing, I am someone who follows through. That knowing is priceless because it means you can trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you stop needing the world to cheer for you. You stop needing conditions to be perfect. You stop waiting for guarantees. You just move. You move with fire. You move with faith. You move with the kind of inner velocity that can only come from walking through failure and still choosing to rise. That's why success loves perseverance. Because perseverance builds the kind of internal architecture success can live in. A structure made of integrity, belief, clarity, grit, patience, faith, action, hunger, and above all, endurance. You endure enough days, and the world will have no choice but to respond. Because consistency compounds every page, every step, every rep, every decision, every tiny disciplined act of faith adds up until the walls of doubt collapse. Until the people who said you're wasting your time now whisper, "How did you do it?" And you'll answer with a smile, not out of arrogance, but out of reverence for the road you've walked. I didn't chase results. I stayed committed to growth. I didn't need easy. I needed worth it. I didn't rely on hype. I relied on discipline. I didn't give up because success loves perseverance. And that's all you'll ever need. Not more motivation, more movement, not more certainty, more conviction, not more comfort, more courage. And if you carry that, if you truly carry that inside you and live from it daily, there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not doubt, not time, not loss, not lack, not rejection. Because perseverance doesn't promise ease. It promises elevation. And it always delivers. Elevation doesn't always look like victory at first. Sometimes it looks like another day in the dark, another door closed, another voice telling you it won't work. But real elevation begins inside, quiet, undeniable, permanent. It's the shift that happens when you stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. When you stop performing for the world and start performing for the person in the mirror, when you finally realize that the man or woman who refuses to quit wins by default. Because most people do. Most people give up. Most people choose the soft road and decorate it with distractions. Most people run when it gets messy. But not you. Not anymore. You've seen too much. You've been through too much. You've come too far. You've buried the version of you that needed permission, approval, or perfect conditions to act. Now, you move anyway. You rise anyway. You speak, build, serve, train anyway. Because you no longer see perseverance as punishment. You see it as proof. Proof that your future matters more than your mood. Proof that your vision matters more than your feelings. Proof that your name will be carved into legacy not because it was easy, but because you endured. And that endurance, that is what greatness is made of. Not the big wins, not the flashy days, the ordinary hours done with extraordinary consistency. It's boring, it's brutal, it's beautiful. The repetition, the resistance, the rise, over and over until the man or woman you once imagined becomes your new reality. And suddenly, without warning, you realize that you are no longer waiting for a better life. You are walking in it. You're not playing catch-up anymore. You are the momentum. You are the movement. And it shows in everything, in your tone, in your walk, in your work. You don't explain your discipline. You embody it. You don't apologize for your ambition. You honor it. You don't fear being alone. You prefer it when necessary because that's when your mind sharpens and your roots grow. You know who you are now because you paid the price and you didn't flinch. You stayed with the mission when it was quiet, when it was cold, when it looked like nothing was working. You watered the seeds anyway. You lifted the weight anyway. You showed up anyway. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Because perseverance teaches you something most will never learn. You can't lose if you never leave. Let them be faster. Let them be flashier. Let them burn out trying to go viral. You're playing the long game. You're building something timeless. And when you build like that, you don't need luck. You don't need hype. You don't need applause. You just need another day, another set, another rep, another breath. And with each one, the gap between who you were and who you're becoming closes. That's how you win. Privately first, in the invisible moments, in the tiny decisions that no one sees, because that's where everything changes in the small. Not in the big wins that people celebrate, but in the uncelebrated acts of discipline that shape the winner. So if no one sees you yet, good. Stay hidden. Keep working. Let the silence mold you. Let the stillness test you. Because when perseverance is finally ready to reward you, it never shows up empty-handed. It shows up with clarity, with confidence, with capacity, with compound returns no one can explain, but everyone can feel. You'll become a force, rooted, unshakable. And the irony? When you finally arrive, you won't even need the applause. Because you'll know, I didn't come this far to be noticed. I came this far to be effective. And I am. Because I didn't stop. Because I didn't fold. Because I persevered. And that, more than anything, is why success loves me now. Not because I was the best, but because I stayed when it got bad. Not because I had it all figured out, but because I figured out how to stay. And you can too, if you're willing to choose it. Again, and again, and again. Success doesn't love talent. It doesn't love timing. It doesn't love talk. Success loves perseverance. It always has. Not perfection, not speed, not even brilliance, just perseverance. The unwavering decision that I will not quit on myself. Because the truth is, life will test you in silence before it rewards you in public. And if you cannot handle the quiet seasons, you will never survive the ones that come with pressure, spotlight, and responsibility. Everyone wants the crown, but the crown comes with weight, and only those who've trained in the dark have the neck to carry it. So train. Train when it's silent. Train when no one believes. Train when you're the only one clapping for yourself, because those who train alone rule later. And it's not because they were chosen. It's because they chose to keep showing up when it didn't make sense, when it didn't pay off, when it didn't feel fair. They understood that the grind is not punishment. The grind is permission. Permission to become great. Permission to evolve. Permission to write a life story so powerful that it needs no validation, only volume. And perseverance is how you turn the volume up, day by day, action by action, one moment of defiance at a time. Defiance against comfort. Defiance against quitting. Defiance against the part of you that wants to stay small. Because here's the reality. The only thing standing between you and the life you crave is the voice that keeps saying stop. That voice, it's lying. It's trying to protect you from pain. But what it doesn't know is that you're not afraid of pain anymore. You're willing to bleed for something meaningful. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because when a man or woman is no longer afraid of the work, of the weight, of the silence, they cannot be stopped. They become inevitable. Not because life hands them anything, but because they extract everything they need through effort. That's you now. You don't wait for energy, you create it. You don't hope for focus. You build it through structure. You don't chase purpose. You forge it with every decision you make. And as you keep going, you'll feel the shift. You'll feel yourself outgrowing your old excuses. You'll feel your internal standards rise so high that shortcuts feel disrespectful. You'll look back and realize, I didn't just persevere, I transformed. Because every act of perseverance is a vote for the person you promised yourself you'd become. And the more votes you cast, the harder it becomes to betray that person. That's the beauty of perseverance. It creates momentum. And momentum, that's the most powerful force in personal growth. It means you don't need to win the whole war today. You just need to win the next battle. You just need to take the next step, answer the next call, say no to the next distraction, Say yes to the next opportunity, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. Because perseverance doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you move forward despite the fear. And with each movement, your courage compounds. Your confidence compounds. Your clarity compounds. Until suddenly the things that used to terrify you now bow to you. And the life that once felt out of reach now fits you like armor. That is the reward of staying, of holding the line when it shakes, of returning to your mission over and over, no matter how many storms try to tear you away. And eventually, you stop asking if you're on the right path, because you are the path now. You've become the proof. You've become the standard. You've become the example that others now watch, not because you told them to, but because you've become impossible to ignore. That's what success respects. Not noise, but evidence. Not hype, but history. Not image, but identity. And your identity is now carved from something no one can take. Perseverance. It's in your voice now. It's in your walk. It's in the way you sit with discomfort without flinching. It's in the way you no longer beg time for more, you command it. You've become someone different, not because the world changed for you, but because you changed your response to it. That's what perseverance does. It transforms your reflexes. What once made you freeze now makes you focus. What once made you run now makes you rise. What once made you doubt now makes you decide. Because when you've walked through enough pain without breaking, you start to realize something. You're no longer afraid of the process. You've made peace with the long road. You don't curse the distance. You trust it. Because you've learned that every step forward, no matter how small, is a strike against the old you. And you've struck enough times now that the old you can't hold you back anymore. Let them call you obsessed. Let them say you take things too seriously. Let them whisper that you've changed, because you have. You're no longer addicted to potential. You're addicted to progress. You don't want to be motivated. You want to be moved. Moved by purpose. Moved by the fire of what's possible. Moved by the memory of how far you've come and the promise of how far you can go if you don't stop. And that's the thing about perseverance, it remembers. It remembers the tears. It remembers the days you almost quit. It remembers the nights you stared at the ceiling, wondering if any of it mattered. And now it matters more than ever. Because this version of you, it's real. It's forged. It's earned. And nobody can take that from you. You've trained your soul to show up not because it's easy, not because it's popular, but because it's right. Because it's required. Because the person you were born to be doesn't live in the shadows of comfort, they live in the furnace of persistence. You've become the kind of person who doesn't wait for permission. You don't wait for the world to believe in you, you believe first. And the world, it adjusts. Because perseverance shifts the entire frequency of your life. Your energy becomes rare. Your habits become sacred. Your standards become steel. And your future unfolds. Not because you forced it, but because you outlasted everything that tried to bury it. You watered the seed when it was dry. You shielded the flame when the wind came. You trusted your steps when the path disappeared beneath your feet. And now the path makes sense. Now the steps were worth it. Now the growth is visible. And still you go. Because perseverance doesn't retire. It reinvents. It says, what's next? Not what now? It seeks the next peak, the next challenge, the next version of you hidden behind discomfort. Because success doesn't stop, and neither do you. You're not chasing finish lines anymore. You're becoming them. A walking example of what happens when someone decides, I will not give up, no matter what, no matter how long, no matter who leaves, who doubts, or who doesn't get it. I will finish what I started. And when I do, not only will I succeed, I will be someone who deserves the success. That's what perseverance gives you. Not just the reward, but the readiness. And when the two meet, that's when you become undeniable. Success loves perseverance. And now you understand why. Because perseverance proves who's worthy to hold success in their hands and carry it with honor. And when you understand that when perseverance becomes the core of how you live, not a tool you use once in a while, you realize something else. You don't need a break. You need a breakthrough. And breakthroughs don't come to the impatient. They come to the obsessed. The ones who show up not just on the good days, but on the days they feel forgotten, the days they feel invisible, the days when everything screams give up and they whisper back, not today. Because perseverance is not a skill, it's not a strategy, it's a decision made daily, hourly, sometimes minute by minute. And every time you say yes to the grind, to the work, to the lonely road, you build something no one can fake, inner fire. Not the loud fire, the steady one, the kind that doesn't flash, but burns. You walk differently with that fire. You speak less, but say more. You don't compete because you already know where you're going. You're not here for noise, you're here for legacy. Legacy is built on endurance. The flashy burn out, the loud fade out, the emotional collapse. But the consistent, the disciplined, the relentlessly aligned, they last. They lead. They win. Because life rewards the ones who refuse to stop climbing, even when they haven't seen the summit for years, even when they've lost friends, even when they've been laughed at, even when nothing external looks like it's working. They keep planting, keep sowing, keep believing. They understand something the world never teaches. Just because it's not fast doesn't mean it's not working. Growth takes time. Fruit takes seasons. And mastery takes everything. It will ask for your time, your energy, your attention, your ego, your excuses, your comfort, your distractions, your need to be liked. And when you give all that, it will hand you back something worth more than gold. Clarity of who you are. And in that clarity, your pace increases. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stop waiting for better timing. You create it. You stop overthinking every step. You trust the mission. You stop trying to avoid resistance. You embrace it as the doorway. That's the shift. That's when perseverance isn't something you force. It's something you are. It lives in your routines, in your body, in your blood. You no longer try to be consistent. You are consistent. You no longer hope for growth. You create it. And because you've stuck with it through the worst, you now have the strength to carry the best. Because success is not just about elevation, it's about integration. Can you stay grounded as you rise? Can you stay humble as you grow? Can you stay focused when the lights turn on? Because perseverance didn't just build your life, it built your character. And character is what keeps you there once you arrive. And that's the final test. Can you keep climbing even when you win? Can you keep pushing even when you're praised? Can you stay relentless when comfort returns? Because perseverance doesn't end when the goal is reached, it evolves. It becomes stewardship. It becomes responsibility. It becomes purpose. You're no longer just climbing for you. Now, you're carving a path for others. You're showing them what it looks like to not give up. You're showing them what it sounds like to walk with discipline. You're showing them how greatness is built in silence and revealed in storms. And maybe that's the greatest reward of all. Not the money, not the fame, not even the success, but the chance to light the way for someone else, to be the proof they need, to become the example they never had. And you earned that right because you persevered, because you stayed when others left, because you bled where others blamed, because you chose to believe when there was nothing left but belief itself. And now you carry the fire. Now you carry the standard. Now you are the signal that says, it's possible if you're willing to pay the price. And what's the price? Consistency, resilience, courage, sacrifice, vision, action, and above all, perseverance. Because no matter where you come from, no matter what they said, no matter how long it's taken, if you refuse to quit, you will rise. Because success loves perseverance. And the higher you rise, the more you'll realize it was never just about achievement. It was about alignment. Alignment with the truth inside you, the calling you couldn't explain, the voice you couldn't silence, the one that whispered in your quietest moments. Don't stop, even when the world told you to settle, even when your bank account laughed, even when you walked alone, without validation, without applause. That voice inside, the one that begged you to continue, that was your future self calling you home. And every time you listened, every time you obeyed that voice over the noise, you moved closer, not just to results, but to realness, to authenticity, to a life that feels right in your bones. That's what perseverance leads to. Not just success, but sovereignty. The ability to walk through life as you are, without needing permission, without shrinking, without hiding your fire to make others comfortable. Because you've already paid. You paid with effort. You paid with discipline. You paid with nights no one saw and sacrifices no one will ever know. And now you own it. Not just the win, but the worth. Because when you stay in the fire long enough, it doesn't burn you. It builds you. It burns off the lies, the old stories, the excuses, the softness. And what's left is truth. The kind of truth that can't be bought, can't be borrowed, can't be taught in books or shouted in seminars, only earned through perseverance, through the holy grind of becoming. And that's what you've done. You didn't ask life to make it easier. You became stronger. You didn't beg for opportunities. You built capacity. You didn't chase shortcuts. You crafted endurance. And now you are no longer one of them. The ones who blame, the ones who wait, the ones who dabble and disappear. No, you are the rare one, the one who chose pain over passivity, the one who chose movement over mood, the one who chose responsibility over regret. And you did it not because you had to, but because something in you knew that success isn't reserved for the lucky, knew that your destiny couldn't be inherited, knew that the cost of your calling was consistency. And now you're reaping the harvest, not because you rushed, but because you refused to stop planting, even when the fields were dry, even when the winds howled, even when others walked away, laughing. You kept planting. You kept working. You kept trusting. Because somewhere inside you, deeper than fear, deeper than fatigue, deeper than failure, you believed. You believed that perseverance would not betray you. And it didn't. It never does. It waits. It watches. And then one day it rises with you. You become the kind of person who doesn't just chase success. You attract it, because success is drawn to those who have proven they won't quit halfway. It needs people it can trust. It needs hands that won't tremble under pressure. It needs minds that won't fold under resistance. It needs hearts that keep beating even after being broken. And you've become that kind of person. So now you walk with quiet certainty. You no longer yell about your goals. You live them. You no longer explain your work ethic. You embody it. You no longer perform for validation. You radiate evidence. Because everything around you now, the strength, the clarity, the momentum, didn't happen by accident. It was built one difficult day at a time, one lonely choice at a time, one unseen act of discipline at a time. You kept climbing, and now the view is changing. Not because the mountain got smaller, but because you became bigger. And if there's one thing the mountain respects, it's perseverance. Because the mountain doesn't move for the timid. It doesn't yield to excuses. It doesn't lower itself for convenience. It waits. It waits for the one who keeps climbing through the storms, through the silence, through the seasons where nothing makes sense and everything feels like too much. It waits for the one who understands. You don't conquer the summit. You earn the right to stand on it. And now you're standing taller, not because the world got lighter, but because your legs got stronger. You've become someone who is trusted by adversity, trusted by resistance, trusted by the process, because you've shown up when it didn't pay, when it didn't make sense, when it didn't feel good. You kept showing up. And that, more than anything, is why success is now finding you. Because success doesn't respond to noise. It responds to proof. And perseverance is the loudest proof there is. It's the testimony written in early mornings and late nights. It's in the quiet yes to your dreams and the louder no to distractions. It's in the decision to grow when no one's watching, to prepare when no one's listening, to believe when no one's clapping. That's what separates the great from the forgotten. Not that they never struggled, but that they never left. They stayed with it. They stayed through it. Because they knew consistency compounds in silence, but it pays out in full view. So now when people ask how you did it, you won't talk about luck. You won't talk about timing. You'll talk about the days it got ugly and you still didn't run. You'll talk about the days you felt broken and still refused to be bitter. You'll talk about the moments no one believed in you and you believed harder. And they'll look at you differently because you're no longer just successful. You're solid. You're sure. You're not chasing anything anymore. You're leading. And that kind of strength, that's what perseverance builds. Strength that cannot be borrowed. Strength that doesn't flex. It anchors. You become the lighthouse, the steady force others lean on. Not because you had it easy, but because you endured. And now you realize perseverance didn't just bring you here. It made you ready to stay. Because reaching success is one thing. Keeping it, that's a different level of discipline. That's a deeper devotion. That's when perseverance doesn't just keep you climbing, it keeps you grounded. It keeps you humble. It keeps you focused. It reminds you, you didn't get here to relax, you got here to build. So now you build with more precision, with more purpose, with more patience, because you've already fought the war of becoming and won. And now you turn your scars into maps. Now you turn your lessons into light. Now you turn your sweat into systems. And the most beautiful part, you start teaching others how to do the same. Not through words, through example, through excellence, through endurance. Because that's what perseverance gives you in the end, not just success, but significance. A life that echoes beyond your breath. A life that leaves footprints in the fire for others to follow. A life that says, I walked through hell and I didn't stop. I failed 100 times and I kept building. I was forgotten by many, but I never forgot my mission. I bent, but I never broke. And because of that, because you kept going, now you carry something rare, something sacred, something permanent. You carry the kind of success that loves you back because it knows you never quit on it. Because success remembers who stayed loyal when no one was watching. It remembers who showed up when the reward was nothing but silence. It remembers who stayed faithful when progress was invisible and the finish line was hidden by fog. You may not have seen results right away, but success was watching. You may not have felt momentum at first, but success was moving toward you the entire time. Every step, every hour, every hard choice it was stacking, quietly, invisibly, relentlessly. Because perseverance doesn't pay you back all at once. It pays with compound interest, and one day, it hits. All at once. A flood. Doors swing open. People start calling. Opportunities arrive. The world finally sees what you've always known. And it feels sudden, but it wasn't. It was earned. Not through luck, not through noise, not through gimmicks, but through grit. The kind of grit that outlasts trends, outlasts failure, outlasts doubt. You cultivated it every time you chose action over excuses. You refined it every time you stayed consistent without applause. You protected it every time you said no to things that didn't match your vision, even when it cost you comfort, relationships, security. That's the kind of power the world bows to. The kind it cannot ignore. Because it's built on truth. Not the truth others gave you, the truth you discovered through effort. That you are capable of more than you thought. That you are stronger than the voice that said, quit. that you are not here to dabble. You are here to dominate, not by stepping on others, but by standing fully in your own power. And now that power is undeniable. You've earned the voice that doesn't shake when it speaks, the presence that doesn't shrink when it enters a room, the calm that doesn't crack under pressure, and the freedom that can't be bought, only built. You built it. With the days you wanted to give up but didn't, with the weeks you felt behind but kept going, with the years you worked in obscurity, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And now, the person you've become is exactly who you once prayed you'd meet. You've become your own miracle, your own engine, your own validation, and you're just getting started. Because perseverance doesn't have a finish line. It evolves. What once was impossible is now your warm-up. What once required courage now runs on instinct. What once felt like a dream is now just your standard. And that's how you know you're aligned. Because success is no longer something you chase. It's something you attract by the gravity of who you are. And who you are is someone who never needed things to be easy, only possible. And the moment you realized possible was enough, the world opened. Not because it gave you permission, but because you stopped waiting for it. You took it. You claimed it. You lived it. And that's what perseverance does. It turns potential into proof, dreams into discipline, and struggle into strength. Not because life got easier, but because you got relentless. And if there's one lesson that lives in the bones of every success story, it's this. Perseverance doesn't guarantee a fast reward, but it guarantees a final one. The kind that no one can steal. The kind that doesn't fade. The kind that speaks even in your silence and says to the world, I didn't stop. I didn't bow. I didn't break. I became. And now I live in the life I built with the only thing that never failed me. Perseverance. You became. You didn't wait to be discovered. You didn't wait for inspiration. You didn't wait for guarantees or for someone to validate your vision. You became your own answer, your own engine, your own proof. Because you finally understood. You are not here to be found. You are here to build. And building takes courage. Building means sweat on days that look like failure. Building means stacking bricks, even when the ground feels unstable. Building means enduring criticism from people too scared to even pick up a hammer. But you didn't flinch. You chose the hard path, not because it was hard, but because it was honest. And there's something unshakable about a person who lives in full alignment with their honesty. They don't need a script. They don't need a spotlight. They don't even need recognition. They just are. Unbothered by doubt, unmoved by delay, untouched by the noise of the world because they're tuned into a different frequency, legacy. That's where you live now. Not in pursuit of comfort, but in service of impact. Because when you've walked with perseverance long enough, your goals change. It's no longer about status. It's about substance. It's no longer about being seen. It's about seeing clearly. And what you see now, you see that the dream wasn't the reward. The reward was who you had to become to carry it. The reward is waking up and knowing you can trust your word. The reward is being proud of your path, even if no one else understands it. The reward is peace. The kind of peace that only comes when your actions match your ambition, when your habits match your hunger, when your results finally reflect your relentlessness. But even now, as you rise higher, you stay grounded, because perseverance didn't just build your path, it built your principles. And principles protect you. They keep you sharp when things get easy. They keep you focused when praise shows up. They keep you humble when momentum builds. They remind you, you didn't come this far just to become soft. You didn't suffer through the nights, the noise, the silence, the stretch, just to relax once the results arrive. You came here to expand, to stretch again, to climb again, to become again. Because perseverance isn't a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle. And now that it's in your bones, there's no going back. There's only one direction left forward. You've burned the bridges behind you. You've buried the excuses. You've walked too far to stop now, and you wouldn't want to. Because this isn't about just one win. It's about building a life that keeps winning. A life that breathes purpose. A life that multiplies your example into others. A life where every morning begins with a vow. I will not betray what I've built. I will not retreat from who I've become. That's your creed now. Not because it's catchy, but because it's true. Every step you've taken to get here was the evidence. And now you walk into every room with power. Not noise, power. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't hope to be accepted. The kind that doesn't waver under pressure because it was forged in it. And when people wonder how, when they look at the calm in your eyes, the strength in your tone, the presence in your silence, and they ask what your secret is, you won't say much. You'll just smile. And maybe, just maybe, you'll say the truth that carried you through every season. I didn't stop. I persevered. And that's why I'm still standing, stronger, clearer, wiser, and more dangerous than ever. Because when you walk with perseverance, not only do you reach the destination, you own it. Success doesn't just happen to you. It becomes you. And once it does, once you wear it, live it, breathe it, you never go back to chasing it again. Because now you are it. This is what perseverance creates. This is the life built not by talent or luck or hype, but by unshakable effort, unbreakable belief, and an unstoppable commitment to never stop becoming. This is success, and it loves perseverance.